This is really an experiment. I've also kind of started the Great Migration onto just one side, keeping my units in one
Mm-hmm.
place, and I didn't have much money left to go into a lot of towers here. So what I decided to do is level it as much as I could and hope that it would work for long enough. But this is
Right.
definitely not the quote-unquote final state of this. It should
So
also be noted. Go ahead.
I was going to say we're abandoning that side and leveling tower for a while. I can see it. I can see it working.
Yeah. I should also mention one thing that I didn't account for, and this is something that most people are probably not going to have as an issue. My forts don't have range, and the Fangs actually outrange them.
Yeah. So the forts are fighting from in front of the Fangs.
Yep. I may have
I
to
actually
switch into
run.
Fangs here because in the long run, having your chaff behind your fortresses and the melters going straight to the forts is not a good idea. Which means that if other people can do this, and if other people are lucky enough to get these drops to have that situation occur, they may actually perform a lot better than I do. In retrospect, I
Mhm.
would have chosen, I think, the laser sights, but that problem was not in my mind right now. In my mind, the fortresses were just staying behind the Fangs naturally because they're fortresses, and these are just puny Fangs.
Right, and this is the way that it works in your head.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, if you're
it is not
running,
the correct way, though.
yeah, if you're running Fang Fort naturally, your Fangs are going to have, um, or your forts have 100 meters. Your ranged Fangs have 115, so they do actually get behind the fort a little bit. Um, but it tends to be all right unless the angle is perfect for the melter. And if the person is not in melter at all, you can run the launcher overload to ensure that your fort is out in front, 100%
Yeah.
tanking for your fangs, if that's what you need. But if your opponent is in melters, now you need your fort behind the fangs, and that's why you would want range on the bar. This build.
So I am trying to now go for the finisher. I'm putting the smoke on my side, but I messed it up. It should be further forward. The idea is that after all of these towers are done with killing the tower, they go into the smoke and get their ranged half when my fangs really start gunning down all of these units and fire on the
Right.
stormcrawlers to kill the mustangs, because that's basically the only way that I see to reliably get rid of all of these mustangs before they just kill my entire army basically alongside the melters.
Right.
This is
This
where
is
I go
also
for the
interesting.
finisher.
This is where also interesting positioning. This right-sided Stormcaller is uh, going to pull units that have mobile beacons to tower down into the corner, which actually buys a whole bunch of time during the tower debuff, right? So we've reduced the tower debuff. The tower is level 4. If you don't know, every time you level a tower, it reduces the time by 2 seconds. So you're down to at level 4, you're down to 3 seconds of tower debuff, and they wasted all 3 seconds of those chasing after those storms that are behind the tower.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really clever play.
I didn't even really think of that, not even until you mentioned it. My thought was put them there so that they can absorb a lot of, like they can throw down a lot of fire and hopefully kill all the Mustangs, which worked. But
It
unfortunately,
worked. There's no Mustangs.
yeah, there is no Mustangs, but unfortunately, there's also no more of my units. That
Small
is
detail.
unfortunate. The round that I intended to be the finisher didn't actually work, and I think in large part it is because my forts just don't have the range. If I had
Right.
gotten extended range fort here, I would have picked that, but I
Mm-hmm.
am not that
They
lucky,
fixed it.
unfortunately. I go for the shield because it's kind of the item that makes the most sense, and in this round, it's not like $100 is all too much. I still
Right.
relocate my unit. I could also kick myself for not throwing the smoke further away towards the
Mm-hmm.
forward side, but it really didn't matter all that much. My opponent
Yeah.
goes
The
into
smoke wanted
the
to be something like this, right?
exactly,
Like from, yeah,
like
not
basically
much
put
off
it
from where you
two
have it.
more
20,
squares
20
forward.
meters. Yeah. 2 squares or 20 meters forward. Yeah.
My
You haven't
opponent
gone into
has
more forts. Is that because of the issue that you've recognized with the range?
I am trying to shield them a bit more from the Mustangs. I think it's not
Hmm.
working as well as I had imagined. I guess the Mustangs are simply a bit stronger than the Fangs, even like this. I mean, you can check the stats.
Hmm.
Stat-wise, the level 2 Fangs, what are they at? As far as health
Level
and
two
shield are concerned.
Fang. Sorry, level two Fang is 269 hit points
Yeah.
and shoots at 136, so
It is
136 per second times 21 or whatever.
I think they have a bit more damage, but they have
Hmm.
less durability than the Mustangs, as crazy as that sounds,
Right.
to be honest. So these
Yeah,
units are
he has
probably somewhat the
788
same.
hit points. Sorry, level one Mustang is 394 hit points, and 12 times 60 times 2.5. So would that be 1800 DPS? So you're actually doing more DPS out of a Fang pack, but have less hit points.
Yeah, which means it's probably an even trade, which also means that the Melters will just beat on my fortresses.
Right.
That is why my army gets absolutely cleaned up here, as you can very easily see. Even the tower debuff is still helping a good amount because it happens at a very crucial points, and I can
Hmm.
conclude that at least with my tech loadout, maybe also the firestorms were the error. It was simply, plain and simply, not working to counter Mustang Melter, even with equal range Fangs. Maybe if I had
Wow.
equal range fortresses, gotten more of those, but I didn't want to invest any more into fortresses because they were always going to be exposed and were always going to run in the front. I just get cleaned up here. But this was a very interesting experiment. And
Hmm.
I feel like if you have better techs on the fortress, and I don't because I was never Fang gaming before these current days,
Hmm.
so that the Fang could ever outrange the fortress was an absolutely insane thought to me. Uh,
Right.
I don't have range on my fortresses. I'm probably going to
Right.
rectify that, and as much as I love throwing fists around, that's probably going to have to end at some point.
Yep.
But this is just very, very good. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
it's
This
just,
is the canonical um, Fort Fang Gaming loadout. And the points of them are obviously the barrier to keep the fangs alive, the fort to ensure that, or the range to ensure, as you were pointing out, that your fort is outranging your fangs if needed, fang production if you need to make more of them, and launcher overload if you need to flip it around. Like if opponent is answering with nothing but Mustangs, then launcher overload gets you out in front, 80 meters to 115 meters. And if that baits out a melter, then you've still got the ability to range enhance and get back up to 120 meters versus 115 meters. So that's why this set of four techs for your forts in the Fang Gaming meta. I noticed you're also running, kind of same as I am on Fangs, you're running Ignite instead of Armor Piercing.
yeah. I don't think it's all that good to go for armor piercing when you can always get extra damage with Ignite. And usually it's not that much about killing a lot of small units in that sense. The Fangs will just naturally do that with mech rage and levels.
Right,
It's about burning down giants if necessary. And there
right,
is nothing better than Ignite. I have other Fang
right,
gaming games where I actually use Ignite to burn down Wraiths.
right. And one of the reasons Ignite is so good is that 6% Ignite damage outpaces 4.5% healing. So even if you don't out DPS the unit naturally, you will out DPS the healing uh, Wraith. You're guaranteed. Whereas if you're in armor piercing, you may wind up in an engagement where you're not guaranteed to be out DPSing the healing. But Sacco was recommending armor piercing, and I've beaten a war factory with neither of them. So Fang Gaming can really pop off when it pops.
Yeah, when it pops, like this is basically, I think fortresses in a sense were the wrong option here to add on I think I would
Hmm.
have preferred to get Scorpions in the long run instead of Fortresses because of the range issue. With Scorpions, I know I can very easily outrange a lot of stuff, and I have played Fang Scorpion, and it worked very well in the right situation.
Right.
I have played that multiple times. It is simply that as much as Mustang Scorpion is good, when you have Carry Fang Scorpion, it doesn't get much uh, less good from that unit being somewhat similar, only even more glass cannony, uh, which simply means that I think the way that I like to play fan game, that I like to fan game, is wait for the opponent to commit into something, and then choose whatever counters it alongside the Mustangs. In this case, I think I chose wrong. I didn't have the rain. Well, I was taking a risk and just basically trying it. But if I were to play this again, I think I would have gotten Scorpions instead of the Fortresses because they do very well against Meltas so long as there is enough chaff. And they can also splash a ton of small units, such as Mustangs, with every single shot. Which means that once the Scorpions kind of hit critical mass, the entire enemy front line is going to disappear. Meanwhile, the Meltas are still working on single fangs, and the Mustangs are going to hopefully die before the Melters do. And I don't even think I need to say how good Scorpions are into Rhinos.
Right. So Scorpion, as answering the Rhino threat at the time, probably doesn't even bring out the melters, and you have a different end game
Yeah,
entirely.
it is really, but I'm very much so intending on trying to do more Fang gaming like this because I have played 6 games so far with Fang Aggro Defense, I think, and I've won 5 out of these. This was literally the only one that I lost, and it was a match where I tried to force Fangs into Mustangs. I don't think
Right.
Fang Aggro Defense is too strong in that sense. I think it's simply that people aren't used to countering. They don't know how to counter it, at least not naturally. I had other games where I got no, Scorpion fired. I got Vulcan fired. I had other games where the opponent tried to go into Wraiths. Uh, I don't want to use this as a bragging opportunity, but kinda
Hmm.
it kinda is. I managed to actually beat Sarah Czech with that build, with
Oh,
Scorpions
very
in that
nice.
case. I also have that game. I already had Mambo casted, which is probably why some people in the audience may know that game already. But if
Right.
a build like this with a player that I am, who probably has like 20% of the playtime in the game that Sarah Czech has, can actually take that player down with this build, I think I would like to
Right.
encourage everybody to try and test the limits of this because I think Fang Aggro Defense, if you're doing it the right way, can be absolutely broken. And I have been in games where just you lose 7 rounds and then you turn it around in 2 once the hackers come out. I mean, hackers kind of
Right.
do that into many boards, but let's be honest. Hacker
It's
Fang
true.
is cool.
It's true. I'm going to point out a couple of things that I think might have gone wrong in this game, which one key element is we have stolen so many kills from the Fangs with these two Stormcallers leveled at, they've stolen, 180, 150, so 330 kills. And the way that kill experience works, the unit that got the kill uh, proper gains X value, and the any unit that contributed damage gains X value. So, or X value divided by the number of units that contributed. Right? It doesn't matter how much damage you helped with. So these splash storms are just consuming experience that we kind of needed to use to level fangs. I mean, a level 8 Fang carry board with only one Fang at level 3, I think that's actually the problem.
Yeah, you might be right. I never really thought about XP in that way, but you are actually correct. I think I was
It's
hanging on
something.
to them because I wanted to go for that finisher with fire, trying to burn all of the
Hmm.
Mustangs, but it
Right.
didn't work. It simply is that if my fortresses had stayed behind, killed the melters, and I had like 3 fortresses and a whole lot, 2 fortresses and a whole lot of stormcallers surviving, that could have been the win, but that's not how it ended up
Right.
being.
That would have been enough to win. Yeah.
That
But
was the
if
finisher that didn't work, and when you've tried a finisher and it didn't work, you are just in a very, very
you-
bad spot.
you're in very, very deep trouble. I do agree with you. It was interesting to me that you had posted to the guild about the Fang carry in defense because I had just played a game. I literally had finished playing a game on ladder where I
Hmm.
found myself running Fang carry in defense and was like, "Oh, hey, this worked."
Yeah.
And and then you posted about it. I was like, "Oh yeah,
All
right."
right. I
If you
think
don't
that's
mind,
gonna be it for the video. And
okay,
I hope to see you next time as well. Well, I guess until then.
all right, cheers.